Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, October 22nd. We got a great show for everybody tonight. Ben Batres from Elm Street is our guest. John Connor from Dog Eat Dog. I know we advertised that we were supposed to have Philly Burn from Gamma Bomb on, but he kind of stood me up like a cheap first day, so that's not going to happen. But maybe in the future we'll get him back on here. Right there, Heretic, Riding with the Angels, doing a cover of Russ Ballad. The man did write a lot of great songs. That comes off the band's debut EP from 1986, Torture Knows No Boundary. It's been 6 or 7 years, I think, since the last record Heretic put out, a game you can count on, a game you cannot win. So I'm hoping that they have something new in 2024. We could use some new music by those guys. All right, like I said, we got a great one for everybody tonight. Elm Street, I don't know if you heard of them. They're a great Australian band, young band. Been around for maybe 7 or 8 years now. This is their third record, and they're just getting better and better with age, these guys, and they're still pretty young. So we'll get to them maybe in the first half of the show because they're calling in from Australia, and it gets kind of late here, and it's early in the morning down that way. All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight, but let's get some music on first. How about we do a little Primal Scream? I was going to try to get this on last week, but man, we were really long and short on time. We had so many things to talk about, so let's do it right now. War and Sin.
Simple things for simple minds. I'm in thoughts, mental rhyme. Psychotherapy for the masses. With a reason, with a rhyme. A primal scream to clear your throat. Searching hard for the antidote. Psychotherapy for the masses. With a reason, with a right. Without reason, without rhyme. Aggressive desires, the reason of fault. Exploited beyond the famous guided first man primary to a heart. Bear down, drive hard, try right, one sin. Bear down, drive hard, try right, one sin. Bear down, drive hard, try right, one sin.
right, brand new Sarah Thungle with Relentless. The album is out. I'm not sure who's going to be on, but I think the week after next we have either Tim or Rob on the show. We're going to talk about Sarah in a minute. Before that, Jersey Dogs, which was pretty much all of Excited outside of Bob Mitchell after Attacker. The guys from Attacker formed that band after they split up with Bob Mitchell. They put out an EP and a really good record after that. Completely different music than Attacker. And we started things off with Primal Scream with War and Sin. Now getting back to Sirith. Last week I had mentioned about Jim Barraza, how cold I thought it was of the band to put out that press release. That, they parted ways with him because of his health. I thought that was pretty cold for a guy that's been in the band since the 80s. Even though the band was pretty much inactive for like 25 of those years, if not more than that. It still was kind of cold-hearted in my opinion. I said, then they released an announcement a week after that this is going to be the final year of the band playing live. So I figured maybe either they work something out with Jim to stick around for the year, they'll do festivals, or something else is going on. Well, Jim came out and made an announcement the other day saying he has his health is fine. He was fired by the band. The inside politics of the band, he says, is just insane, and he called it Jarvis Ungle. He says Jarvis is basically running the band, running the show. I guess he's like a sharecropper. He gets in there and everybody gives him a little piece of everything, and you kind of share the rest of it. But he left the band basically because of Jarvis. So that's the main. They didn't leave the band. Jarvis fired him, obviously. So to have that kind of power after being in the band for a couple of years and being a young kid joining a band that's been around probably longer than he's been alive, kind of shitty in my opinion. But in the same sense, as much as I'm on Jim's side with that, then the tides turned a couple of days later because now Jim's daughter, I guess, put out a fundraiser saying that they're trying to raise money for Jim because of the legal battles that are going to ensue when he tries to get his money for this record. Now, first off, anybody knows anything about the music business, even if you just listen to music from one day, knows nobody makes money on music anymore, especially records. If you're Metallica, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, you might make some money on it, but nobody else is making any money. And they're on Metal Blade, so they're not making any money off the record. They'll probably just break even or maybe come home with a few $100 by the time all is said and done. What do you think they're releasing? They'll release maybe 1,000 copies of this record, 1,500 at most. That'll be it. There's no money for five guys to split, with that. It's impossible. So when they put up that fundraiser, it kind of turned me off to the whole thing about caring about him. And the thing was, well, they don't know if they're going to honor the deal that they have with him. If Jim signed the contract when they recorded that album, you're entitled to whatever the contract says. Plain and simple as that. You got to sue for it, you have to sue for it, but you'll get whatever you're entitled to in the contract. If he didn't sign a contract, that means that he's a paid member of the band, and he got a set fee for doing something, maybe for playing in the studio or playing live, and probably Tim, Rob, and Greg are the main guys in the band getting the money because they're the three original members. Now listen, Jim has been with the band since the 80s. There's no doubt about that. But like I said, most of the time the band's been broken up. And I think Paradise Lost was the only record he played on in '91 with the band until they got back together and recorded Forever Black. And there was the Half Past Human EP, but I think those were a lot of old songs that were written even before Jim was in the band that they re-recorded. So he has a fundraiser that raised $390 for his almost maybe possible legal, defense. And so it hasn't even happened yet, but he's collecting money in case it does. And so if Sirius does give him the little bit of money that he's owed, which is probably less than what he already raised in the fundraiser, does he get to give that fundraiser money back if he gets the money from Sirius and doesn't need a lawyer? Because everybody who donated money get that money back. So I don't feel bad for him anymore. Once people do shit like that, I just kind of lose it. This is the last year of the band. They'll probably play a bunch of festivals. A couple of one-offs were in the town, and it's going to be over and done with. But Jarvis did get in there and fuck this band up, and he was even talking about, and I wanted to have Jim on the show, but I'm going to have the other members on the show. I'm going to bring all this up to them. I don't know who's calling in yet, because they're doing a press day next week, so you never know who you're going to get. Or it might look to be Jarvis, but I'm going to ask him all these questions anyway. But I'd rather have Tim and Robert on the show, because at least I can talk about the history of the band with those guys, not just the last couple of years. But it's just crazy shit. I mean, and the new record does sound great. It really does. I mean, it sounds a little bit like a modern classic series, and I don't mean modern in a bad way. It's a really good record. But go to Jim's page. You can read all the bad mouthing he's starting to do about the band and about Jarvis. So it is what it is, right? Okay, let's get back into the music. We've got two interviews to get to tonight. Savage. This is a band called Savage. Now, This is a great record. It's called Glory Riders. They're a band out of Germany. There were three other Savages out of Germany, some new and some from the 80s. There were about 10 other Savages, over the last 4 decades. The most famous one being the new wave of British heavy metal band. So, if you're a band that's forming in 2019, in the age of internet, why the fuck would you call yourself Savage? Why would you name yourself after a band that's got the name that three other people in your own country are using? Never mind, the famous band from the new wave of British heavy metal era. You could have came up with a different name. But it's a really good record. I mean, it kind of sounds like a little bit of a knockoff of Wasp, like old Wasp, but it's pretty good. Just, guys, typing the name you're thinking about on the internet, I guarantee you'll change it in about 2 seconds when 10 other bands come up with the same name. A little something a little original. Come on, it's not that hard to come up with a name that nobody else has out there. But this is New Savage by one of the Savages from Germany. I think they're out of Bavaria. The album's called Glory Riders. It is a good record. Just the name, kind of sticks in my craw. Here's Glory Riders. Witch with Cinderella in Black Leather. Let's get on some brand new Elm Street for everybody right now, and then we're going to talk to Ben right after that. So here you go.
When the messenger tried to leave, ships of life fall for greed, not knowing what's to come. Take the weapons and hope they run. The value of life must come first. Doesn't matter to them, they thirst. Bathing green can't be seen. Just the hands always clean. Gamble on life for a price. Peace has no value here. Fortune made on sacrifice. The price of war. Order comes from above. Kiss goodbye those who love. Living comes to heads or tails. Take the cash when they tip the scales. Make a promise to return. Never know if plans will burn. Drifting green, now you're seen. Walk ahead but they're never clean. Gamble on life for a price. Peace has no value here. Fortune made on sacrifice. The price of war. In the fight on the spot. Brainwash, no thoughts. Population is short. Absolute destruction. Gamble on life for a price. Peace has no value here. Fortune made on sacrifice. The price of war. In the fight on the spot. Brainwash, no thoughts. Population is short. Absolute destruction.
Hey, Mike, not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on the show tonight, and I have to tell you, such a big fan of the band for 15 years already. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but I'm glad you guys are still putting out music and doing it.
Wow, awesome. Did you first follow the band from the first album or?
Actually, when I heard about Raid, I started looking up that stuff, and then it kind of turned to Elm Street not long after that, and I've been following you guys since then.
Yes. Wow, awesome. Well, yeah, it's been a long time, and I'm glad we're finally back with some new music as well.
That's great. Yeah, it's been about 7 years since Knock 'Em Out with Metal Fist came out. I mean, I know there were singles and the EP, but that was the last full-length record, and a lot kind of went on in the world over these last few years.
That's it. That's it. So we're always that's the heart we're far away from the rest of the world. So between Knock 'Em Out and this last album, to us personally, we did a lot. We had to tour over in Europe. We had a few tours out in the States, and that took up a lot of time, a lot of finances for the band. And then in 2020, we were ready for this new album release, but the world had different plans.
Yeah, that it did, but it's out now, and that's all that really matters. And the Great Tribulation, I think, is the band's. I mean, I hate to say it's the strongest record because the other two are so phenomenal, but
Mm.
this really shows like where the band has come from and where it's grown over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that. Mm. That's it. That's it. And for us, what we're trying to do is we're trying to leave back a memory of where the band is at that point. Every album tells a story of time of where we are at that point. Barbed wire metal, we were essentially angry teenagers just listening to heavy metal, and that's what it was. And then the next album will be nothing like this one. We're enjoying writing music together and just writing heavy metal. And that really came out in this one. You've got songs that are 11 minutes long, and it's just us just having a ball, just having.
That's so true. Seven Sirens clocks in at 11 minutes. And, the Great Tribulation is sort of a story from the Bible, but yet most of the songs can kind of relate to things that are biblical in one sense, but also very relevant to what's happening in the world at all different levels. So was there a conscious effort to kind of write, like kind of mix the two together?
I think so, and I just think that Bible themes get overlooked in metal. I mean, I'm a huge Striper fan, but at no point do we consider ourselves a Christian band. But I think everyone looks at, the devil and that sort of evil themes, and that works well with aggressive. The Bible can also be dark at times. So, for us, the Great Tribulation, it marks the end of days, and we just thought, you know what, the last few years almost felt like the end of days to some people, at least for us as well.
True.
So, yeah, it sort of worked out well with the themes.
Yeah. Well, Australia was kind of locked down, I think, harder than most of the rest of the world. So it must have been difficult.
Mm,
And if you kind of go back to like the heydays of metal, the late 70s going to the early 80s when the scene started to come about and explode, bands back then, had no choice but to kind of be where the hub of metal was taking place. And here in the U.S., that would have been
mm.
California or New York. And even European bands all wanted to come to America to break in those two places. Being so far out in Australia it was definitely a setback for a lot of bands because they just couldn't get that kind of reach. But with the internet today, it's so much easier. But is it still kind of isolated even with the internet?
I think so. I think so. And we make a big deal about when a band tours from international here in Australia. It's a huge deal. It's a big thing. It's not every week that you go get to see, even your Iron Maiden just announced their first tour here in 10 or 15 years, which is crazy. So it's still a little bit, we've got our community here, and it's great. I mean, when we were younger, now I'm in my 30s, but when we were in our teens, when we first started this band, we were sharing around CDs. We'll go into, pre-order our VHSs and DVDs and that sort of stuff. So there's still a big community. The internet's just a great thing. It's just allowed people to share music and us to hear things that we would never have heard ever in the past. And that's, also social media. You just sit there and you just scroll through for hours, and up pops up, a Brazilian power metal band. So yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, it definitely connects people a lot easier and a lot quicker. It doesn't help on the live front, but definitely for getting the music out there. And when you think about the band, I mean, how did it, how did it all come about now? I mean, I know you said you a lot of your high school friends or school friends from school. How did the band form? Was it just out of friendship of being kids and wanting to play music?
Yeah, so myself, Tom the drummer, and Aaron the guitarist, we were best friends in high school. Aaron and I had been best friends in primary school. Back when we were in grade two, that's where we became friends. But we started to get into the aggressive music. I was really getting into Metallica in high school, in my cassettes with everybody and things like that. And then Tom came in, and he came in with his love of Iron Maiden, his love of Manowar, those sort of power metal bands. And then one day we were just sitting at my house, we were watching Rock in Rio on VHS, Iron Maiden, and we thought, you know what, that would be cool to do. And we formed Raid, the band, before we even knew how to play instruments. Then we allocated everyone, cool, you learn guitar, you learn the drums. No one wanted to sing. I just said, yep, cool, I'll just sing. And from then on, we signed up for our first high school sort of event, and we played for Who the Bell Tolls, and away we went. So I've never actually written music with anybody else.
Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
Mike. Sorry, I just lost.
yeah. I know it's a bad connection. I was saying so when the band kind of formed back then, nobody really knew how to play an instrument.
I just lost you for a second. I've just moved to a better location.
Okay, you got it. What I was saying was that so when the band formed, nobody really even played an instrument.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Wow,
nobody knew how to play an instrument. We had to go away. So actually, Aaron's dad, the lead guitarist, his dad was a guitar player, and he had offered to teach Aaron and I. So he was our guitar teacher.
that's incredible. So not only did you have to learn how to play instruments from the get-go to start the band, but you also had to become songwriters. I mean, was songwriting an easy thing? Was it something that came kind of easy to you?
Not at all. We had no clue what we were doing. So it took us maybe nearly 2 years to write our first song.
Wow.
And that song was Metal Is the Way. So, yeah, that was the first song that we had ever written, and even to this day, it's probably the most popular song. Thanks to it was featured in a movie called Deathgasm, and it's sort of got a bit of a revamp. But yeah, that's the first ever song we wrote together, and it's just amazing.
It really is, and considering like you were saying about the different members of the band and the music they went to, it seems like everybody sort of had a common core of what they liked, but yet everybody had a little different interest in music. Was there a set direction for the band? Would you get you just say, hey, let's the band should go in this direction, or we should sound like this? Was there anything like that set, or because you guys were so young and learning how to play, the music just kind of evolved that based on what you were doing at the time?
That's it. I mean, we loved just a variety of metal, thrash. And because we were learning together and we were just growing as kids, we were just getting into different things at different times. When I was 18, 19 years old, I remember Tom and I, we loved Striper, we loved the Rat. Winger was coming in. There was just all of those hair metal bands was just impressing us. Dokken was like our favorite band ever. George Lynch was just a legend. And that just evolved what music we were writing at that point. Knock 'em out with a metal fist. Aaron wrote a song called Heart Racer, and that was heavily based off, those Dokken sort of eras. And that's because we were listening to that at that point. Now you hear the music on the Great Tribulation is a little bit dark, a little bit heavier, and that's because at this point we're a bit more mature and we're listening to some heavier stuff as well, and a bit more open-minded about music and metal, which is cool, and that's really come out of that. But yeah, I do remember those early days. We wanted to be a power metal band. Like I wanted to sound like Jeff Tate, early Queensryche.
Yeah.
I never reached those levels, but I remember that was the aim. It's like I need to hit those higher notes.
That's a great story. It really is. And when you think about how far you've really come, then hearing how you guys started, it's really impressive. And do you think that musically, as the band goes on and the years add up and albums will come out, that the band is kind of willing to go in any direction that your talent takes you at that point in time?
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's what's exciting, and we're friends first before a band, which is I think what has really kept us together over the years because touring is hard. There's always financial strains for a band when you do something that you love and it's not your full-time job. So yeah, I'm just excited to see where the next one takes us.
It's going to be amazing. I mean, this one's incredible. And when you think about bands like Iron Maiden and AC/DC, I mean, they give you exactly what you want from them, album after album. They don't stray too far from the path of what their fans kind of want. But if you listen to Barbed Wire Metal and The Great Tribulation, you could hear the growth between those two records. And really, like maybe a decade of time, you can hear how much the band has matured and changed. And if that's an ongoing process, I can only imagine what you're going to give us down the road.
Yeah, that's it. And like I said, that's our little diary that we're leaving behind. I can listen to Barbed Wire Metal, I can close my eyes, and I remember being a 16-year-old in my parents' house writing music with the guys, And then this one, we're going to look back on the Great Tribulation and go, yeah, those were tough times. We're in Melbourne where we were the longest city in lockdown in the world, consecutive days. Like that was nearly 2 years of our lives we couldn't leave a 5 kilometer radius around our homes. So it's a cool little memoir or diary that we're leaving behind for ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, how difficult was it? Because when you think about it, Knock 'Em Out came out 4 years before the pandemic. So, by that time, most bands want to get new music out for people to hear. Well, I mean, there was the Black Diamond EP in 2019, I'm sorry. But I'm just saying, that was a long time to go between albums, and it was by no fault of your own or anybody else's. So, as a band, to sit back and say, wow, we had all this momentum going. We were, out on the road touring. We had this great album out. And now we got to just, everything's like kind of put on hold. You must sit there saying, this is horrible because, we worked so hard to get to this point, and now it's like starting over again.
Yeah, it was a little tough, and we're finding that now is that we're still finding people that have never heard of the band before. And in our eyes, we're like, especially in our home city, it's not the biggest city in the world, but we're like, surely everybody knows the name by now and has some sort of relation to it. But yeah, we're definitely building our base again. That makes it exciting. At the same time, we're looking at it as more of an opportunity, to rebuild all of that and get our music back out there. And even people are finding the earlier albums now, which is great. So in our eyes, it's more of an opportunity to connect to more people just through the music.
True. The first record, if I remember, I think it came out on Storm Spell Records, and the last two were on Massacre. So, I mean, big difference between the two labels. Storm Spell's a great, small independent label, and then you have Massacre, a much larger label. I mean, in this day and age, does a label offer a band everything that they want or could need, or is it just more of an outlet for distribution?
A bit of both, but I think being an Australian band, it offers us just immense opportunities because we've seen people and we've seen bands do independent releases, and nowadays there's just so much music out there that a small Australian band releasing an independent album, it's going to get lost within 1,000 other European bands that are doing the same thing in their local cities. So with Massacre, we've got all this distribution and they've got all the channels, and people like you, we're able to speak to you about the music, which is cool. So it's a bit of a change. It definitely is a bit of a change pre-COVID and post-COVID, and just in those short years, how many bands have been able to put out such great music and sometimes isn't heard, which is sad as well.
That's so true. And I don't know how it is in Australia, but here, after COVID, a lot of the great clubs that we have, they just couldn't survive. They couldn't make it after being shut down for 2 years, and we lost a lot of them. Now we're seeing more clubs open up again, some with the same owners, some with new owners, but now you have a gluttony of bands who weren't able to get out for over 2 years, all touring at the same time, making it very congested in the market. So are you seeing the same thing where you come from, where a lot of the local bands now are all trying to get out and play, and it's kind of crowding up the little bit of clubs that are still left?
Well, for us, it's hard that so many international bands are on a backlog of tour in Australia that the local shows are struggling. We can't get many people through because Australia is a funny place, and especially the major cities where metalheads usually go to gigs on the weekend. And we're talking Friday, Saturday. A Sunday show, unless you're Metallica, it's not really pulling that many heads, and don't even try a midweek show. So that's the hard thing now, is that people are saving their pennies, and concert tickets are going through the roof. Now to see a band like Iron Maiden, who's about to go on sale, is the cheapest ticket would be $250 Australian.
Wow.
And people are just saving their monies for those, and then not having much luck with local acts. So it's a tough time at the moment, definitely. But for us, we're just interested in going overseas, because an opportunity for us is to be able to see the world and do something that we love. It's our little boys trip, to have, a tour in the States or somewhere overseas and go, cool, let's go do that for 4 weeks. And instead of taking 4 weeks holiday, let's just go and play some shows.
That's true. It is difficult on that level. You're right, because a band here in the USA could travel from one end of the coast to the other in a day or two by car if they had to, or just fly. And they can do one-off shows or two-off shows in different places and just maybe break even if they're lucky. But it's not the same coming from Australia or anywhere else to the rest of the world. So what does a band like Elm Street do to try to get on a tour? I mean, I know a lot of places, with a lot of things, you have to buy onto these tours. They're very expensive. Then you have the expenses of the actual tour itself, and hope that you kind of can break even. I mean, clubs are taking cuts of the merchandising over here. They're taking a cut of this.
Mm.
It's crazy. So how does Elm Street actually get out of Australia and to the U.S. or to Europe to or even South America to make a small tour happen, which at least break even, if not profitable?
Yeah, and I'll be very real with you. We have never broken even, and I can't see us, unless something drastic happens, I can't see us ever breaking even because flights anywhere outside of Australia were already down $2,000 per member return.
Yeah.
So somehow we have to make that $2,000, and to make a tour worthwhile, we would have to go on with a bigger band where you're not really getting paid. Sometimes you are buying on, sometimes you're paying for transportation, which is maybe another $5,000, $10,000 per member. You know, so we accepted that. We're happy to just put that money out there, invest in our music. Maybe one day it'll pay off. If not, then we at least leave with good memories and something that you would never regret. I've never regretted going on tour at any point, and same as the other guys. So when we were 18, when we were just out of high school, we made the decision, all right, everybody get qualified in something so we can work full time. We worked full time so we could fund the band, and we still have that attitude till this day. So we've never gone any periods without working or anything like that. And all the money that we make, obviously some goes to our own personal lives and family, but we do keep a portion, and we're quite smart with our money so that we can fund what we love.
That's the best way to do it. I mean, I know, like I said, Iron Maiden is coming. There are a lot of big bands in Bill. My friend Ross, the boss from Manowar, the old Manowar, is coming over there. But my buddy Stu
Yeah, I
Marshall
saw
is going to be
that.
playing with him in Night Legion. So,
Nice.
you do have a lot going on there. There was a great scene. I get it. Like, here back in the day, you only went to the clubs on Friday and Saturday night to see bands. Today, you'd be lucky if you could get to a show on a weekend because they're all booked on a Tuesday. Like last week, we had Venom Inc. and Satan come and play on a Wednesday
Wow.
night or a Tuesday night, and there were 10 people in the audience. A few years ago, the place was
Jeez.
packed, with people on a Friday night. It's hard, it is hard during the week. It makes it difficult for the people working, and the bands take a hit. And you're not talking about little bands. These bands, kind of have a name to themselves.
That's it. That's it. But it also, what I'm finding now when I go to shows is bands are taking their live show to the next level. I've seen some bands and I've been like, whoa, like this. I mean, look at Iron Maiden, for example, who were strictly backdrops. And you went to an Iron Maiden show, you knew what you were getting, you're waiting for that backdrop. Now the new tour, you've got those LED screens, you've got Bruce doing his whole show, and it's a bit like a musical. So I think it's great that older bands are now embracing that and go, cool, to get people to shows, we have to deliver something that's a bit to the next level.
It's true. Are you guys interested in putting on a theatrical show, or is it just more going out there and just kicking ass?
At the moment, we're getting our momentum again, but we're still looking at ways to. I mean, our set list is always curated in a way that it's a good show. With every song has a purpose for being there, and it has a good flow. So I think for the next tour, we'll definitely have to look at bumping up the stage show a little bit.
That would be great. Hey, Ben, I'm not going to keep because I know it's early where you are, but it's getting a lot later over here in New York City.
Yeah, no, thank you.
We're on
No,
two different
thanks.
wavelengths over here, and probably two different days, but I'm such a big
Of
fan of
course.
Elm Street and The Great Tribulation. I mean, the band's strongest record to date, and that's saying a lot because what you put out before then was really strong. October 27th, the official release date on Massacre. Does the band have anything coming up for the rest of this year? You kind of just laying back, waiting for 2024.
Yeah, a few local shows here in Australia. We're playing with Metal Church in December in Australia, which is cool. Another band that we looked up to. So just focusing on the release, hearing all the feedback, getting the music out there, and then hopefully make our way over to the States very soon.
I hope that happens. I would love to see you guys live. But listen, I'm a fan, and I'm a fan for life. So the best of luck with the
Thanks, Mark.
band, and I'll see you guys. And I hope I talk to you real soon with the next record.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks again, and thanks for everybody for listening in. This is awesome.
Thank you, my friend. Take care. Have a great afternoon or morning.
Easy. You too.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, Seven Sirens by Elm Street. If you haven't gotten the new record yet, go ahead and pick it up. I'm a big fan of these guys. We're going to get to John Connor of Doggy Dog in about 20 minutes. I'm not going to play any music off the new record because I don't think it's really meant for my audience. I know these guys from back in the New York City hardcore scene day, and, they were a mix of, like, POD and Limp Bizkit, like that rock, punk, hardcore stuff. So I don't think my crowd is really into the music, but John's a good guy, and it's a good interview, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Another band I like talking about on this show is Agent Steel. I'm counting down the next 2 weeks to see if these Northern European shows take place. I was laughing the other day because I believe his name is, I forgot, Nikolai Anastasov. He was the guitar player with the band during the Keep It True Festival debacle that took place a couple of years ago. He had a falling out with the band, and then he talked shit about them, and he joined Resit not long after that, and then he was like, I'm involved in a lawsuit with the band, they're going to sue me, blah, blah, blah. Now he's back playing with the band again for these Northern shows, so I don't get, you talk all that shit, but you're back playing with the band again. And I don't know if it's permanent, because you never know who the hell's in Agent Steel from month to month. They just had a whole new lineup put together this summer. So is it the guitar player Justin that was part of the last lineup of Agent Steel that's not going out with them? Or is he going out and this guy's coming on as a second guitar player? Or is it cheaper to get him there because he's already from Europe? I don't know. With Agent Steel, you never know. But more than likely, all these shows are going to get canceled anyway. So we'll find out in about 10 days or so when the first one's about to take place. I'm quite curious about that. All right, let's get on another set of music here. We'll do a little bit more chit-chatting, and then we'll get to John right after that. Next week, no guests. It's our Halloween Spooktacular. It's our Halloween show. We're going to have a good time doing that one. And I don't think I mentioned in the set before that, did I? Let me see. No, but before we did the interview, we did Witch, Cinderella, and Black Pants, Iron Grey. Christian wanted to hear that song, Werewolf's Attack. And right before that, we did Savage with Glory Riders. A lot of people always say if you don't mention the name of the song, I don't know who it is. So I try to do it all the time, but sometimes we kind of get ahead of ourselves over here. All right, let's do our demolition segment. I think we skipped it last week. I'm not sure because we got really busy. But out of California, Sadis is the band this week. They have a brand new record coming out. The first one, I think, about 18 years. The Shadow Inside. I've got a copy of it already. It's a great sounding record. I was a big fan of these guys back in the day. And I remember trading for that first demo tape, DTP. So off of that tape, let's get on Sadis Attack. Steel with When the Lights Go Out, and right before that, Americade. Ah, I love those guys. Such a big fan of them back in the day. I remember buying the first record, American Metal, and I just fell in love with those guys. And I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. Gerard DiMarini, the guitar player from the band, his brother PJ was the singer. Walt Woodward was the drummer in the band, and Dan Spitz, Dave Spitz's brother, Dave Spitz was the bass player in the band at the time. They were so great. They used to put on such a big show for like a little local Brooklyn band. They went like all out and everything. And when I found Gerard on the internet and got in touch with him, I was thrilled. And he came on the show, and he was such a talkative guy, and we've become such good friends since then. And we constantly keep in touch. And he's a very famous author today. He has this whole like detective series of books that are supposed to be getting made into either movies or a TV show. So I'm really excited for him and have that on there. And if you want to go onto YouTube, they did a cover of We're an American Band, and he has the video up on his page. If you just type in American Band, it'll come up, I'm sure. But it's like just like an old school '80s video where they're trying to get to a show at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, and they're being mobbed by rednecks who don't like the way they dress, and you got the mafia guys in there. It's like pure '80s, like classic memorabilia. Back then, it was sort of like real life, but now when you look at it now, you kind of laugh, and it's goofy, the video, and it was kind of meant to be, But check it out. It's a very old-fashioned, grainy video because I think it's Gerard's original version of it that was filmed. I don't know if it's someone that was actually released, and I think it actually won an award on MTV back in the day, but I love those guys. They're great. They'll never get back together, which is a shame, but Gerard still does play guitar. All right, let's just hit a couple of quick headlines before we get to John Connor. I saw Dino from Fear Factory. He was all thrilled seeing Milo Silvestro, I think his name is Milo Silvestro, the new singer, kind of nailed it on the first day and is happy about that and the chemistry, which means about 8 months from now, the guy would probably be fired from the band because there'll be no chemistry. I don't know why bands come out and say shit, then a couple of months later, when things go south, they kind of turn around. But, he'll be fired out in about a year. And speaking about being fired, is Eric Grunwald still in Skid Row? Because I think his time is up also. Hasn't he been with them for at least a year already? I'm pretty sure he's going to get fired soon. And then you got Ronnie Romero from, I guess Rainbow in a way. That's what most people know him from, that all the other bands he did. But he says that his time in Rainbow is over. I don't think that's my place anymore. I'm pretty sure that was Richie Blackmore's decision, not Ronnie Romero. I'm pretty sure Richie made that call. And let's be honest with you, Ronnie, nobody considered you playing in Rainbow, your version of it, Rainbow. I mean, to me, Dio is Rainbow. I'll even take Graham Bonnet and Joe Lynn Turner. This wasn't Rainbow. This was Richie Blackmore probably getting a shitload of money to go out there and do those couple of shows that he did. I think he played for like a week or two, doing a handful of shows and festivals, and he probably got a ton of money for it and just grabbed you as a singer. There was nothing more to it than that. So, ask Doogie White. He'll tell you about that with the last Rainbow. I'm using quotation marks record. It's not that, believe me. And Peter Bolt, again interviewing him about it, leave and accept. And he said, like, when the decision making was taken out of my hands or being a part of that, that's when it's time to go. He's with Udo right now, and I love it because I feel like that's more accept than, accept is these days right now. But if he thinks he's going to have any say in the decision that goes on Udo, he's kind of highly mistaken on that point, too, because that's just not going to happen. All right, let's get to the music. Before we, let's talk to John Connor from Doggy Dog. Like I said, I'm not going to play anything off the new record because I don't think you guys are going to dig it. But he's a good interview, so let's get to that. Hey, John, this is Mike. How are you?
Hey, Mike. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio, right?
That's it. That's what you got here.
Right,
Listen,
man. I'm doing great.
man, listen, 30-something years of being into Doggy Dog. It's great to have a full-length new record. It's been a long time, but it's not like you haven't been putting out new music. It's just the first full-length in a long time.
Yeah. Thanks for keeping up and for knowing what's up. It has been a while, and there was a period not so long ago where I didn't think we'd ever make a record, but I'm glad to be in the position we are today.
So am I. I mean, was new music something that just wasn't like a priority at that point in time with the band?
Well, as I've been saying to other journalists, we had a rough road in the music business. We had a tough time with management. We had a tough time connecting with record companies. And to be quite honest, the band was already in a part-time kind of mentality anyway. So there really wasn't a whole lot of motivation to partner up with a label or to try and get back in the quote unquote business. We were having fun and enjoying playing the old music, and it kind of built up a momentum on its own, and got to a point where we decided to go back into the studio.
I'm glad that you did it. I mean, going back to the earlier records, I mean, Ouroboros Kings, I mean, probably one of the greatest albums ever recorded in your genre. I mean, Play Games took you to another level. I mean, there's some great stuff there. And you have a lot of bands that are like that say, you know what, we don't even want to record new music anymore because people just want to hear the old stuff, the stuff they're familiar with, the stuff they know. But you guys came up with a
Yeah.
record, in my opinion, that brings me back to those earlier records. That shows where the band would have been if more music was coming out, I think, over the decades.
Hmm. That's interesting that you say that. I feel like, I don't know, not a different person, but the 23, 24-year-old version of myself compared to the 54-year-old version now, as a writer, as an entertainer, as a human being, I just feel like is way different than that guy. Not that I feel like embarrassed or anything. I mean, that's who we were, and that chemistry made something pretty special. And maybe I wasn't ready to talk about it in those terms in the '90s, but looking back now, almost 30 years, I know that All Borough Kings touched a lot of people. I'll leave it to critics and fans to say where it belongs in whatever list they want to make up. But I'm just glad we made something that people are still talking about 30 years later. And I think the new energy in the band and our new kind of writing phase is occurring with a different guitar player. So to hear that it sounds and that you hear some of the roots and old stuff in our new music is a compliment in my book, because yes, I think we wanted to progress, and I feel like we've done that. But it's nice to hear that even with a different guitar player, you're hearing the soul of makes us us.
Absolutely, but you and Dave have been with the band since the beginning. Brandon almost since the beginning.
Hmm.
I mean, a couple of years into it. So I mean, the
Yeah.
three of the four members are still there. So I think that really helps with the chemistry, even if it is a new guitar player, because he's kind of gonna go along with what you guys know the band should be like.
Yeah, I think you make a great point that the stability of the rhythm section and myself being there basically the whole time that people have known the band uh, lays, the roots of what it is. What I will say about Roger, he's been playing on and off with us since 2005, 2006.
Yeah,
And he's been playing continually as our guitar player since 2009. So he's talking about a huge chunk of the band's career. But Roger definitely brought a lot of new ideas and new energy into songwriting, particularly. So I have to give him a lot of credit. A lot of the Brand New Breed and Free Radical songs came from guitar riffs or ideas that he came up with, or that maybe that he demoed or brought to me or whatnot. So he played a huge role in this album. But I think Dave and Brandon did too. Everybody just did what they were supposed to do as far as composing these songs and whittling them down and getting them mixed. And now they belong to the public.
absolutely. Was there any stuff from the new record that was kind of laid back from years and years ago? Or was it all stuff relatively written just for this album when you planned on doing it?
Well, we started writing the record, or recording the record and writing the record in the summer of 2017. So it took a long time. Of course, there was a pandemic break. We recorded in Switzerland. But basically, we were writing. We play festivals on maybe and some shows like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we'd take Sunday off, and like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. We would just do it the old school way. Just go into a room, drink a couple beers, eat a pizza, and come out 5 or 6 hours later with maybe two or three song ideas, and then a whole bunch of riffs or different parts. And my job was basically to record everything just on my phone, just so we had ideas and we could share that and then develop songs. But the flexibility of writing during the week and then playing on the weekend meant that we could try out some of these ideas live, and we definitely utilized that on a lot of this material. So the songs were kind of getting played live as they were written. To answer your question, the song At Joe's was a song title or a song idea that I thought of in 1998, 99 when we were making the Amps record, and I first was hanging out in D.C. Of course, I moved down there shortly after that, so I've been in D.C. Area 25 years now. So next to my first apartment in D.C. was this crazy place, and the guy, Joe, was the master of ceremonies, so to speak. And that song title went all the way back to 98, but the actual finished version probably didn't happen until that was one of the first songs that we recorded. So I think that got done in like 2018.
Wow, it's amazing. Jeff, you kind of go back to the beginning. I mean, everybody's always like, the band came out of Mucky Pup and everything. But, and I know Dan from back in the day, and I was a fan of Mucky Pup, and he was in there, and
Yeah.
but it was a whole different band then. Mucky Pup was a hardcore band, and I grew up in the hardcore scene, from the 80s with CBGBs and going to the matinee every Sunday and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
when you guys came out, I mean, I thought that you guys were doing something that was unheard of and completely different at the time. You took a little bit of everything. I mean, there was a saxophonist playing in the band. Who the hell would have said a saxophonist like a hardcore band? And there's like rapping going on, like there's like a little bit of hip hop, and it was so. I mean, a lot of bands after you came out and did the same thing and got a lot more credit than I think you guys did. And I really think you guys were, the originators of that kind of style and the sound and that, what you were doing.
Well, I don't know about originators, but we were at the forefront of something going on. I mean, if you look at Rage Against the Machine and the success they've had, you can't take anything away from those guys. When Sean and Dave, I was on tour with Mucky Pup basically, and Sean and Dave had a big blow up with Chris on the tour, and they decided that was it, that they were going to start their own band basically. And I was already singing a couple of songs a night with Mucky Pup on stage. We were doing Cavity Creeps by Murphy's Law, and then I think we maybe did Wild Thing as well, which Murphy's was covering at that time. So, but shout out to Chris Milnes, like you said, 80s hardcore. My first CBGB's matinee ever, Chris Milnes took me there on a Sunday afternoon. So, you can't really, if you're really talking about the roots of Doggy Dog, you have to mention Mucky Pup because they, Dan came from Mucky Pup. Sean and Dave both played in Mucky Pup, but we're also tied to Murphy's Law in that way because Danny played in Murphy's, Sean played in Murphy's at times. So, there's that connection between our three bands that are just, natural and a lineage. But for us, when I was on tour with Mucky Pup in the 80s, we heard the band Urban Dance Squad. And to me, they were truly the real pioneers of rap and rock, even though what they did was even beyond rock, in my opinion. But we didn't want to copy them because we really couldn't copy them. They were way better musicians and had a lot more influences to draw on at that point than we did. But my point was that I said to the guys, hey, I want to have the freedom like those guys do to do anything. If we want to put a movie sample in there, we can put it. To us, putting the saxophone wasn't that much of a reach because we had seen Fishbone, and Fishbone killed it. And they were playing with hardcore bands, and they were giving all of that and then some to the hardcore bands at certain times. So, it wasn't that foreign. I'd seen the Red Hot Chili Peppers back when like Hillel was still alive, and they had I think sax or a trumpet player at that time. So, there was weird bands too, like Faith No More, for instance, that we were into and that were doing like some kooky shit. So like putting a saxophone into it wasn't like, to us, it definitely wasn't sacrilege. And, we weren't trying to stand out like putting masks on and costumes and stuff, but we wanted musically our sound to reflect as much of the wide variety of influences that we had.
I completely understand that, but think of like 1990 when it kind of got started. I mean, people were
Yeah.
still, the heavy metal scene of the 80s was still kind of big in 1990. It just didn't die like, at the stroke of midnight where grunge took over. Everything was
Hmm.
still metal at that time. It was different genres were kind of like coming out of it. But it was still basically everybody who grew up in the metal scene was a metalhead still. You had the hardcore scene, that took place and a lot of the crossover bands that started coming out in the mid 80s and things like that. But when you guys come out
Yeah.
and you're doing everything that you're doing, and to me, because you're like the local guys to me. You're from New Jersey. I'm from Staten Island. Well, I
Yeah.
was Brooklyn
Uh-huh.
back then, but and you're the local guys
Nice.
to me doing this. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Hearing all this, and I'm thinking, did you ever say to yourself, where's our audience going to come from? Are we going to appeal to this crowd, to that crowd? Did you worry about who's going to get into the music, or do you just say we're going to do this and people are going to come and find us?
Um, no, we didn't really worry about who was going to come because luckily for us, like I started singing with Doggy Dog after singing in cover bands, like when I was in high school for a few years, and I got bored with music because I found skateboarding. So when I got into Doggy Dog, it was not reluctantly, but I finally found something that I thought was worth my time in music again. And Dave and Sean were my tight friends. I mean, Sean and I were skateboarding all the time, so I knew that by starting the band, that me and Sean were going to quit skateboarding. That wasn't going to happen. Um, but because we were skating, we were plugged into a different social scene than just the metal scene or the hardcore scene, or we had friends of ours that we skated with that were also doing hip hop and doing rap. So that's how like Doug Wilson and the guys from Solid Ground got involved. And everything was real organic. We were just utilizing what was around us. But Sean and Dave and myself and like Mark Mary was one of our first drummers. He's from Staten Island, so shout out Mark. Um, Everybody like had jobs or had a different social circle that they could draw upon. So once we started doing shows, it wasn't just a core of like 10 or 20 people coming. Like maybe I could bring 8 or 10 people from work, and maybe 10 skaters showed up, and Dave brought 6 people from work, and Sean, brought his sister's friends, whatever it was. Like we started filling clubs pretty quickly, and when people came to our shows, even if they weren't into like, you didn't have to be into hardcore to get Dog and Dog because there was a little rap there too. Or, maybe we would like, I don't know, we were playing like some covers back then. So if you're a metalhead, like we covered Gore, Sick of You, like we had an energy and a chemistry, and Dave and Sean and myself and Dan Nastasi, like, we'd already been on tour a couple of times, like getting on stage, like we weren't looking at the ground or at our shoes, like, we were kind of experienced on stage, so there wasn't a whole lot of feeling of the football. Like, we just got up there and did the business, had a party, and people felt it. And I don't know, they gravitated towards it. And even if we played with Biohazard or Life of Agony or even Hades or Nonfiction or something, it still made sense wherever we went. We were flexible enough to kind of fit in with whatever crowd.
I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, when the band first got started and you're getting this thing going, I mean, are you serious about taking this as far as you can? Because you're all a bunch of young guys in your early 20s. Did you say, you know what, we have a shot, we can make this, we could do and have a career out of this, get records? Or was it just really more for fun and having a good time and just writing music with your friends?
A bit of both. We had the belief that we could do it because we saw like Mucky do it. You know what I mean? Those guys had a record deal when I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like they went from playing the same uh, all ages club that I was playing, except I was doing like Anthrax and Metallica and Sex Pistols, the Beastie Boys covers, and they were doing original music. So I was like, wow, if I could do original music, I might be able to jump on something like that. And like I said, Dave, Sean, Danny, myself, we'd already been to Europe, so I felt like even with our demo tapes, like we could almost go to Europe because people were circulating our tapes. Like that was the way to do it back then. And then Billy from Biohazard put our demo tape with them on a European tour, and he gave it to Hank Hacker, who ran Roadrunner Germany, and Hank sent word back to the New York office, and Howie Abrams came down to see us at Bond Street. And back then, Bond Street was going off. It was like we were playing the shift all the time, and they had a young crowd, and our crowd was a little older, but they mixed well. So we would just pack it out and kill that place. And Howie came out and was like, "Yeah, I love the vibe, I love the band." And funny thing was, like, he's given us so much good advice over the years, but he was like, "I don't know about the saxophone. Maybe you should lose that." And we're like, I think we're gonna keep it, bro.
It worked out. I
And he
mean,
got
Howie
it.
Abrams, the godfather of the New York City hardcore scene.
I mean, he's given so much to so many bands, from
Yep.
Nuclear Assault to Sick of It All. I mean, you name it. Like, Howie had so many good ideas. He helped. I think he was the one who came up with the Allboro Kings name, um, because he saw one of our friends, a graffiti writer, had written that. And I guess he knew what that term meant or something. He's like, "Oh, I think you guys maybe should call it Allboro Kings." And we're like, like, we don't have really any other idea. And then, like, Todd James did the crown and the artwork inside, so we had a real strong connection with New York graffiti, and it just, it made sense. And how he laced us up with that for sure, and many other gems that I could give him credit for.
True. In 1994, was it easy for Howie to get you signed to the label? Did you have to do any convincing?
I don't think so, because we were maybe his first or second signing. I think he might have signed Die Monster Die before that, and that's how we got our first manager, because that guy was doing Die Monster Die. But no, it was pretty easy, and we already had a plan, because our second demo, we were just re-recording our second demo in the same place that we had recorded it at, I believe, and it was pretty easy. I mean, the thing that I remember about getting signed was our drummer at the time, his father was a big guy on Broadway. He had wrote the lyrics to Miss Saigon, so he had a big time lawyer who was representing Cyndi Lauper and Bryan Adams at the time, and those were like as big as you could get in like late '80s, early
Yeah.
'90s, right? So he said to us, "This is the worst record deal I've ever seen in my life," and we were like, "Give us the pen." Unanimously, all of us, because we knew, like, hey, if you don't get started, you're not in the game. You know what I mean? And if, like, what if no one else, like, nobody else was doing the kind of music we were doing that we knew of, at least in 1993. So it was our chance to get started, and I'm glad we signed it. So no
Sure. I
regrets
mean,
there. But I remember him. He literally said it's the worst contract he ever saw. He's like, they have your publishing, they have your royalties, they own your right of first refusal on your merchandise. Like, it was terrible, and it was, even for those times. Nowadays, that's a good contract.
yeah, that's true. If you can even get a contract today, that's a good contract. But those were the
Exactly.
times, and as a young, like I said, a young band getting started, you have to take that opportunity. You know how many big bands signed shitty contracts when they were younger just to get the foot in the door and to get things going, and the ones that made it wound up making up for much later on in their career. But that's just part of the
Yeah,
business, whether you like it or not. That's just the way it goes.
yeah, that's the way we accepted it. We had one offer from Howie. We liked Howie. We thought that he understood what we were about, even though we knew that Roadrunner didn't, and that we could see even back then that we were going to have some problems. But let's have some success before you have problems. And we had no success at that point, except for local success. Like I said, we were selling out clubs. We were getting bigger and bigger rooms every time, opening up for some national acts and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, we thought we could go to Europe. We were hoping we could get signed. We had no aspirations for, like, to be on MTV or any of that stuff. But we also, when we started the band, as much as we kind of made a pact, David, Sean, and myself, to not put boundaries on it, we also said, like, hey, we're not gonna put limits on this band. Like, we will promote it to anybody. Like, if Rolling Stone comes calling, cool, or the smallest fanzine, imaginable, we will talk to anybody. We'll promote it. We'll go wherever this band takes us. So we kind of had the forthright to lay out very simple ground rules, but I'm proud to say that Dave and myself and Brandon have pretty much stuck to the spirit and the idea behind what this band uh, wanted to be, and I think still is.
There's no doubt about that. You've never put a limit, I think, musically on what you guys can do. And I remember when Play Games came out, people were like, it's a more commercial sounding record. They're trying to take it to the next level. Then I'm like, you got Ronnie James Dio on the record. You got RZA from Wu-Tang Clan on there. I mean, how can they be
Yeah,
more commercial with the shit that they were doing? I mean, it's just the evolving
right.
sound of the band, the way you were going. I mean, to this day, I'm like, how the fuck did
Yeah,
they get Ronnie James Dio to be on that record? I mean, I know it was the 90s and Ronnie was
that
looking for anything at that time to do, but I just like Ronnie James Dio. I mean, that would be the be all the end all to me.
that was it. And when you talk about it in 2023, it's like, oh yeah, that's eclectic, but big deal. Well, Dio had almost no name at that point, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like we were grabbing Ozzy Osbourne, and RZA had yet to really make a name. Like we knew who he was, but Roadrunner certainly didn't know who he was, and just the idea that we were supposed to do two songs with RZA, and it ended up only being one because his schedule got so busy. Um, but the idea was to bring RZA into the rock world, and then he wanted to bring me into that rap world and do more of a straight hip hop sounding track. And that never occurred, sadly. But just working with both of those artists was incredible. Just having the the presence and the history. I'm sitting at home watching the Wu Tang Saga on Hulu. I mean, how cool is that? Just to see their story has evolved to movies and network TV shows created by the RZA. Like, that was just a guy who was in the studio for one night with us and created some music. But you know, at that point, we had already been. Um, we won an MTV award. We were on top of the pops. Like there was no way to go back to the underground without falling off. So we had to reach for the stars. We had to take advantage of the resources that we had, and we got in the studio with great producers. We were with the Butcher Brothers. We worked with Bob Musso, who's like Bill Laswell's guy, and like worked at the finest studios on the East Coast that we could find. And I mean, Scott Storch was playing keyboards for the Roots at the time, and he was in Philly. He played keyboards on Play Games album, uncredited. But like, they're like, oh, this hot keyboard player, yeah, we need a part. So he came in and played on it. But like, for $100 or whatever it was, like we were very, very lucky to be around some incredibly talented musicians, producers, studios, and there's no apologies. Roadrunner in Germany, they asked us to be in Bravo magazine, which is basically like, a tabloid. And none of their bands had ever even been asked to be in it before, but they also said, look, you're going to get some backlash from this. Some of the hardcore kids, your underground, the skateboard community, people are going to reject you for this. I'm like, you know what? They're going to anyway. When you get too big or something grows beyond what a fan or a person is comfortable with, then they move on to the next thing. That's natural too. So let's reach for the stars. Let's see where we can go with this. And 2 years later, Eminem's in it, Biohazard's in it, Wu-Tang's in it. So I mean, if we were the ones that had to take the fall for that, so be it. It doesn't hurt me in any way.
I hear that. You spent the whole '90s with Roadrunner. You had three records out with them at that time. Amped was the last one. I mean, do you think any one of those
Hmm.
between Amped, Play Games, and Old Borough Kings? I know a lot of bands have trouble looking back on some of the early material and kind of grasping it today, saying, "Oh man, what the hell were we thinking back then?" But it was the time and the place for everything. But out of those three records, is there anyone that you think really defines the band and what you were all about at that point in time?
I think all of those records are a perfect snapshot of what the band was at that point in our lives and in time. I mean, for me, I look fondly on all those records. There are parts of the record that make me cringe, but like, who doesn't look back on their whatever 20s, 30s, and 40s and not cringe at certain things they said or did too? So that's just a fact. For me, the album that I really am most proud of is probably Amped, because the world didn't really get to hear that record, and it didn't have the commercial success of the other two. But the growth that I went through as a singer and lyricist, and understanding how to work in the studio, I made the biggest leap in my career just between Play Games and Amped. I mean, the vocals on Amped were something that I was like, wow. Like, I listened to it in the end and I was like, holy shit, I did that. Like, it took a year to make that album, and it was not easy. It was definitely, the producer broke me down and then built me back up. But the version that he built back up is the same version that I've been able to carry into every studio that I've gone to around the world now. And I truly understand the art of recording, and how to lay vocals, and how to try and do my best. And that's something that I didn't understand with Aldero Kings and Play Games even, and especially before that, the EP and all of that. It was like, I couldn't really properly hear myself for whatever reason. Maybe I wasn't listening right, but I made a lot of growth on that album. So for me, I'd say, wasn't really the question, but that's the album that I'm most proud of. Up until that point, you talk about those three albums. There's also a lost album of ours from 2006 called Walk With Me. It's not really available on streaming. You can find it on YouTube. Definitely some cuts on YouTube. But that album I'm really proud of too. Like, Dave and I worked really hard on that. It was during that album that Sean left the band, and even though he contributed to that album, we had to finish it without him. And I'm really proud of Dave. He did a bunch of guitar playing on that album, and we had a lot of fun. Even though it was a tough time for the band, it was cathartic making that music. And of course, Free Radicals is to me the perfect kind of statement of who the band is right now. There's elements of that 90s band, the thrash, and the hip hop rock crossover thing that we've been doing all these years. But there's a bunch of stuff on there that I think people would not believe it's us that made it. So I'm proud of all of it.
Yeah, definitely you can see the growth in the band, and I mean, it's 30-something years when you think about it. With the Walk album, I mean, wasn't that on Nuclear Blast? Weren't you guys on the Nuclear Blast around that time?
No. Nuclear Blast basically helped us. In '99, we got off Roadrunner, and we signed with a manager in Germany who was like, I'm going to get you guys on Def Jam, blah, blah, blah. He promised us the moon and didn't deliver. And it was a 3-year deal, so we basically sat until 2001, 2002. 2001 happened, 9/11, and almost all of the European stuff just dried up as well. So a bunch of things kind of occurred at the same time. And for us, from like 2002 to 2005, 2006, we were stripped way down. We had no sax. We were basically, we had a booker who was also our manager, and he was the one who encouraged us to get in the studio. And he paired us up with Klaus Grabke, who is a legendary German skater and a musician, and he has a great studio in Gütersloh, Germany. And we just went in there, cranked out that album with him, and had a great time. And when we were shopping the record around, we were getting some interest from some major labels and everything, but everybody was coming with these bullshit contracts where they wanted, like, not only our publishing and our merch, they also wanted a chunk of the live performance fees as well. And I was like, everybody in the band was like, get the fuck out of here. You got to be kidding. Like, we're not some 20-year-old kids. we believe in this music, but not enough to mortgage it out to you people. Like, so Nuclear Blast helped our manager booking agent to put it out. And then our manager booking agent also became our label. And when you have one person doing all those jobs, it's just, you know, it's a recipe for disaster. So basically, yeah, that ended uh, over the course of a few years after we put out the record. But no, Nuclear Blast, I don't think they ever had it on their catalog. They just helped get CDs made. I think we had some vinyl made up. I'm not sure. I know we had 10,000 CDs, and we basically sold them all. Anything that didn't get sold in a store got sold at our live shows, and yeah, there's no more of them in print. Like, we're looking at getting Amped and Walk with Me reissued, possibly through Metalville. We'll see how things go with this record. But yeah, we want that music out in the world, and we're like, we weren't that interested in the business side of things, man. We've been so fucked over and had such a bad experience that the only thing that we really enjoyed out of the business was playing live, and we got great joy out of that, and we're able to do it, pretty consistently for 33 years now. But even in our downtimes, we were still able to tour, especially in the early 2000s, because we had popped so big in Europe that basically, we could go even to small towns and villages. I mean, with no saxophone, we played some pretty small shows over the years, but they were fun, and we learned how to make it fun again. And I guess now we're back in business.
I'm glad for that. When we first started talking, you were saying, we didn't put new music out because there's just too much going on with, trying to get management and interest and labels and stuff like that. And when you think back when you're young and you're just starting your band, it's all kind of do it on your own. But then once you do get signed to a label and you have management, you have people set up tours for you, it is kind of hard to go back to that. Even though we're in a world today where the record companies aren't king anymore, bands kind of do everything on their own today. But when you've been at that level, at that
Yeah.
point, it's kind of hard to go back to doing it on your own for everything.
You know what? It's not the work that we're afraid of or reluctant to get involved in, because like, we're doing the work now. We haven't released a proper record in 20 years, so I'm learning all these things, uh, and how much the business has changed. And I knew that it was going to be different, but it's different in ways that I didn't imagine, and it's requiring some different skills and learning some things, which we're all happy to do and willing to take on. I mean, we in the 90s we were making videos. In the end, our videos were like, the last two videos I think we made were $80,000, $100,000 videos. So now we're shooting videos on iPhones, and it's just me and Dave in Bucharest, Romania, are shooting the Bar Down video, and we love it. I love the way it turns out, because I feel like it's authentic, and it looks like us, and it feels like us. And to me, it's not about how much you spend or how slick it is. It's like, what's the feeling do you get from it? Our last video, we had our fans from around the world sending clips of their dogs, and I haven't had so much fun looking at a video, and it makes me smile every time I click it on. And normally I'll watch it, look for mistakes before it's released, and then when it's out there, like, I have no need to look at it. I know what it looks like. But this video I keep on going back to, and it basically cost us nothing. It costs whatever, 1,000 for the editor to do his job for a couple weeks. So it's all about what you're looking for. Like, what's the return? What do you want to get out of it? You know what I mean? Like, if your expectations are, hey, we're going to take over the world and get a Grammy, or like there's some imaginary MTV channel that's going to put us back on top, like, that's none of our expectations. Our expectations are that, like, we felt like we had something to say, maybe for the last time, and we didn't want to squander the opportunity and the chemistry within the band right now. And we don't feel like, hey, we're not curing cancer, but we're doing something special, and we're doing it in a way that maybe no other band is doing. And, I think our fans, at least over the last 10, 20 years, have told us that they want something. So no matter what that ends up meaning as far as consumption, we decided it was time to give them something. And here it is.
And I'm glad you did. John, before I let you go, the official release date, October 20th on Metalville Records. I mean, do you have anything planned for the
Yeah.
rest of the year? I mean, we're getting into the end of the year now, but anything coming up?
Yeah. We're doing a European tour with our friend Dan Nastasi and Kings Never Die, and a band from the UK called Grove Street, real cool hardcore group. The three of us are doing like a 3-week tour in Europe, and then we're going to take the rest of the year off after that and regroup in 2024. We hope to be touring a little bit in the States next year, and also hitting some places that we weren't able to get to on the first leg of the tour next month, like United Kingdom and Paris and hopefully Ireland and Japan. And, wherever the phone rings from, we plan on going to. We've committed to doing Doggy Dog for at least another year or so. And then after that, we'll see what we feel like doing.
That sounds good. The best of luck over in Europe. The new record is going to kill it. And when you get back here to your hometown, I can't wait to see you guys play live. So I'm hoping that happens next year.
Thanks so much, man.
All right. I want to thank
John, this is
John
Mike.
for
How
being
are
on
you?
tonight's show. We had a good time talking with him. I want to thank Ben. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday night to our Halloween Spooktacular. I think it's number 14, even though we're on there 15 years. We were off for 1 year doing only interviews. So join us next Sunday night. I'm getting tired here. Join us next Sunday night. We'll have a great show for everybody. All Halloween music. And we come back in November to the live shows with guests. And we got Sirith Ungle on the show. We got Ron Bumblefoot Fall. The guys from High Spirits will be on here. Restless. And I believe Have Mercy. So stick around, guys. I'll see you next Sunday night. Let's wrap it up with some New York legends. Hitman with Caught in the Crossfire. Take care, everybody. See you next Sunday.